Okay, still no micro?
Still no microphone.
Still no micro.
Can you hear me all right, folks?
Perfect, okay, so we now have micro. And is that your presentation?
Yeah, that is my presentation.
Okay,
That is me.
Yeah,
So
can
it's
you
good.
make a clicky thing to kind of, okay, and it works.
It works.
So basically, Pete, we have microphone, we have presentation, we have audience. There's no
Thank
more
you.
I can do for you. So big welcome and round of applause for Pete Moore. Yay!
Thank you very much, Joe. Thank you all for coming back after your lunch to spend half an hour with me. My name is Pete Moores. I'd like to thank my colleague Letitia and the organisers of the South Summit for inviting me to talk on this topic: high impact private investment to smart microphones, to develop the global entrepreneur system. Now, if that's a bit of a mystery, this is what I'm actually going to be talking to you about over the next half an hour. 5 points in half an hour. In fact, 25 minutes. So we're going to go quick. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who Oxentia is, because the chances are you haven't heard of us. I'm going to talk to you about the problem with accelerators, specifically in the developing world. I'm then going to talk to you a little bit about the role of governments and an example of a program that exists to help with global entrepreneurship and innovation, and talk about how we can engage corporates in that process. And then just leave you with a little bit of an idea about what we're currently doing to set up a global network of accelerator programs and investments as well. Okay, so first point, who is Oxentia? You probably haven't heard of Oxentia. You probably have heard of our ultimate parent company when we started back in 2004. We started as part of the University of Oxford's technology transfer company. At the time, they thought it was a really good idea. I'll carry on. Oh, I've got two things to hold. At the time, in 1987, they thought it was a really good idea to call the company ISIS. In 1987, that just meant the part of the River Thames which went through Oxford. Not a problem. Obviously, as we started to grow up and go around the world calling ourselves ISIS, big problem. So that's what we did. We grew up as the technology transfer consultancy and training arm of Oxford University, delivering that expertise and knowledge around the world. And that's really what we do. We help develop entrepreneurship and innovation capacity around the world. That picture there is my boss, and the man in the uniform is a Lord Lieutenant of the Queen of England, giving us a prize for international trade and development, because we've gone from being a UK-based consultancy to working in 65 countries around the world. And then finally, in 2017, we rebranded to Oxentia and did a management buyout, and we're now a separate, independent, limited company. So that's who we are. Point one, done. This is what we do. I have far too many things to hold. This is what we do. I'm not going to take you through this, but the bottom line is what we need to focus on. Working in partnership to build capacity, develop capability, and enable innovation for the benefit of economies and societies. And it's that point, the benefit of societies, is what I'm going to be focusing on mainly today. I'm not talking to you about how we can develop early stage technology giants and get massive economic returns. I'm talking about developing technology that helps people and societies. So that's what we're all about. Where we've worked, all over the place. We've worked now in 65 countries around the world, but the key is tailoring the development of the ecosystem to the needs of that environment. It's not about going around the world establishing mini versions of Oxford. What works in Oxford, works in Oxford. What works in Madrid, works for Madrid. What works for Colombia, Malaysia, Indonesia, takes the specific requirements of that ecosystem and develops the programs needed to enable innovation and commercialization of early stage research in that unique environment. And there, just a selection, just to show that we have some sort of credibility, some sort of track record. And this is the product of our work over the past 14 years in the 140 universities we've worked with around the world. Okay, so that's my first point done. talking about us. Now let's talk about the subject at hand, the problem with accelerators, as I put it. Now, in the developed economies, accelerators have long fulfilled a role in developing entrepreneurs, as well as the technology that they are working on. So in a way, I'm propositioning that the accelerator program has become the new MBA, and people are treating accelerator programs like a badge of honor to go through. So in a way, that's absolutely correct. These experiential learning programs equipping the next generation of entrepreneurs with the practical, commercial, and enterprise skills that they need to grow their businesses is absolutely right. But what we're seeing, especially in the developing world, what we're seeing not happening is growing those unicorns. It's become more about not developing massive multi-billion-pound companies, but developing careers of the people that go through them. And we're seeing entrepreneurs go through them like a badge of honor, just looking for the next program to join. They're not looking and not gaining follow-on funding. So that's particularly prevalent, like I said, in the developing world, where the problems are slightly more acute. The entrepreneurs are more hungry. Innovation there is driven by necessity, solving the very real problems of societies. More about health than wealth, about perseverance rather than profit. So as an example of this is a Cameroonian business called Cardiopad. So Cameroon has got a population of 20 million people, but across the whole country, there's only 30 heart surgeons. So the Cardiopod invention is a cardiac diagnostic device and software developed in the country to basically allow diagnosis to be carried out in remote locations and then transferred the results to the specialists. So overcoming a barrier to this life-saving treatment in this particular country. So Cardiopad came to the accelerator with a very bad business model, but a good technology. And the accelerator helped them develop the model and make the business more sustainable. So entrepreneurship definitely means different things to different people. To me, it's science-based. It's academics who think and want to change the world with their inventions. But we've been missing something. Because innovation is much broader than just patents and inventions, it's about new ways of working, new business models, new ways of living. It's about directing our intellectual efforts into not just the lucky few for mass profiteering, but to improve the lives of many, to have socio-economic impact. Innovation should work for all the people to future-proof our economies. So, let's look at accelerator programs in the developing world. Often, innovation gets stuck. A lack of access to capital funding has often been cited as a particular reason for this, and that's particularly true for higher risk technologies at an early stage. It takes vision to see the higher returns that are possible. Skills gaps are also a major problem, as is the lack of access to specialist support, the infrastructure required, and connections to the global economy. Again, you're going to find different issues depending on different parts of the world that you work in. But the key to them all is that although their ecosystems may be underdeveloped, the human capital is there. The potential for innovation is there. So, what can we do? First, there's a role for governments to play, absolutely. And here is an example of a fantastic program led by the UK government, but working in partnership with 17 developing economies around the world. So it's set up and run by the Royal Academy of Engineering, because they recognize that around the world, a lack of engineering capacity is often the main constraint to innovation in certain economies. So if you get the number of engineering graduates to increase their capacity and capability, you can get some fantastic results and new technology out into the market, like in sub-Saharan Africa, where they have a particular program for their area. So this global entrepreneurship accelerator program now has been operating in 17 economies for the past 4 years. So what, you say? What difference has it made? Well, here are the results. The main thing here, just looking at the last reported outcomes. This is the last year of the program up until 2016-17. Look at the headline impact figures here. Yeah, we've created 650 new jobs created by these companies. Between them, they've raised $52 million. They're great headline figures for any accelerator program. But what is more important for us is to look at the things that are happening behind it. And the graph there that shows that projects have actually been moved on. They've become unstuck as a result of the program, is the real impact and legacy of this type of government-to-government program. But we do have to recognize that governments have a role, but they can't do everything. There's definitely a need to engage the private sector. But this isn't for everyone. We're looking for private organizations, corporates, who don't just want to get involved because they have a profit motive. Because this type of impact investing doesn't yield immediate bottom line returns. It takes time, effort, and long-term support. We're looking for those who want to invest to add more to the world, not just to their shareholders. They want to have a lasting impact in the world. And when we're talking about impact, what are we defining it as? We're talking about impact as health, livelihood, the environment, people's well-being. We're not just talking about returns to shareholders. Banks and foundations, they get it. They get it. They've got a stake in the long-term success of the economy. The better the economy functions, the more healthy people are, the longer they live, the more they can bank with them, the more their business becomes a fundamental part of the long-term success of the economy. And they also understand that the role of government funding can only go so far. So organizations like in Colombia, the Fundación Bolívar de Vivienda, are an ideal example of an investor that's looking long-term to invest in early-stage technology. They recognize the emerging talent in the country and the potential they have of developing that talent and the innovations that can come from it. Okay, so taking us back to Oxentia, why are we interested in this area? The goal of Oxentia is to develop knowledge-based economies by facilitating innovation. We work with governments to grow their knowledge economies. And obviously, as I've said, innovators in the developed world have access to multiple levels of funding. That's not the issue. They have the support structures for commercialization. If you're in a less developed country, you don't have that funding. You don't have that infrastructure. And therefore, potentially transformative innovations are stuck in the very early stages on their route to commercialization. So if we want to act within those economies, where do we start? Do we do it top-down? Top-down, we're paying lip service to it. We might tick the right boxes with the government agencies, but we won't develop that lasting impact. If we act from the bottom, working with the people, the workers, the labor force, they can start to do and change things. So we need to be encouraging them. We need to be supporting them, providing the environment to let them flourish, guiding them, supporting them. And as a corporate, you can have a much bigger role in developing the economies rather than just fiscally contributing to society. People make the innovation ecosystem. People can leave a transformative legacy on their innovation ecosystem. And I'll give you an example of just one couple who did that. So, here we have a story of two such people who transformed an innovation ecosystem, Martin and Audrey Wood. They met while they were students at Cambridge, and they married in 1955. Shortly afterwards, they moved to Oxford, where Martin began work as a senior research officer at the Department of Physics, the University of Oxford, working on some of the world's first superconducting magnets. He realized the potential of his research area at the time, and they founded the first ever spin-out from University of Oxford, now called Oxford Instruments, in 1959. Their first spin-out company was established in a garden shed, but went on to become a massive commercial success, with a current market capitalization of £577 million. Now, at the time, superconducting magnets were in demand for MRI scanners all around the world, and they floated in 1984. This enabled the couple to found and fund many more science and environmental organizations all across the county of Oxfordshire, many of which have had a massive impact locally, as our previous colleague testifies with his quote. So not everywhere is like Oxford, but many economies have Martins and Audreys and have this unlocked human capital and innovation potential that we should be trying our best to allow to escape. Accelerator programs that develop both talent and technology, that's where the future lies, because it's these innovations that drive global competitiveness and productivity. So, my final point, what are we doing about this? Well, momentum has been building. In the past 5 years, these are examples of some of the accelerator programs that we've been running in developing economies all around the world. Some of them focused on SMEs, so in the growth phase and scaling up their companies, helping with internationalization. And some of them, many of them, focusing on that early stage technology, the potential transformational in terms of socio and economic impact technologies, but earlier stage, more risky type development projects. We've developed an accelerator program. It doesn't look much different than most accelerator programs out there on first look, but there are some subtle differences. For a start, these ones are aimed at early stage technology, so the people in them usually have jobs within academia. They don't apply to accelerator programs to receive that ongoing monthly wage from the program itself. They join it because at the end of the program, they have a de-risked innovation proposition that they can pitch in front of investors. And as well as providing the support, the training, the mentoring, the online community, all the other things behind it, the other added advantage of this approach is we're lining them up with investors who will have access to this de-risk portfolio of potential new technology investments. And our vision over the longer term is this: to establish a global investment fund, making proof of concept, seed and Series A investments in technologies arising from emerging economies, de-risked through the provision of an intensive accelerator program. Why do it? The reasons are clear. We want to unlock that innovation potential in emerging economies. We want to create better links between the emerging world and Britain, which supports the efforts of the UK to remain a global player connected to the world through the global Britain. I'm not going to mention the B word. We're also trying to do it to de-risk international investments, to make it more easy for international investors to invest in quality technologies, in quality talent from all around the world. And ultimately, we want to create a fund that does give back us investments to reinvest in the next generation of technologies. This is where we're at so far. I've got loads of time. This is our plan for building this global investment pipeline, the running of at least 4 accelerators at any one time. We've nattily called them the Oxcelerator programs. One of these is up and running at the moment with our partners in Colombia. One of these is running on behalf of the Royal Academy of Engineering in Malaysia. 2 are about to close, we hope, one in the Middle East and one in Latin America. And we hope that these accelerator programs will give us the talent and the potential investments so that we can make qualified, de-risked investments from our own fund, but also through our partner investors that we're working with throughout the world as well, offering these investment opportunities to more investors. So these are the programs that currently exist, as I've just said. These programs are currently running, they're streamlining, they're refining an early stage technology pipeline, an investment portfolio. But we're not stopping there. we're looking for funders, we're looking for partners, we're looking for investors, and we're looking for talent to build this truly global pipeline. And finally, in summary, I'm going to leave you early, which is good. I've talked about unlocking the innovation potential of developing economies by using accelerators to provide the infrastructure, the support, and the advice and guidance to get this technology to the market. I've talked about finding the right corporates to engage with the right motives, those who look beyond profits and look to create a lasting socio-economic impact within the countries that they work. There are government programs out there that we can piggyback on to de-risk the investment as well. But also these accelerator programs find a way of sifting out the quality investment opportunities for us as well. And as Henry Chesbrough, the pioneer of open innovation, said yesterday, the future of innovation is collaboration. So why not choose to collaborate with us? Thank you very much. I have a whole 7 minutes. If anyone would like to ask any questions. Yes, sir. I will get you a microphone. He says, hopefully. Have you got a microphone for gentlemen? See.
When you say collaborate with us, what sort of collaboration are we talking about?
Okay, there are, looking at our pipeline of accelerators, most of them are paid for by a government agency, either in the UK or in the host country, to actually run the training program and the mentoring program initially. That's the first partner. The next partner are investors that we're looking to co-invest with us once the investment portfolio has been de-risked. Those of them. And the second is, well, the third rather, is other partners in country who can help us identify the talent pipeline that will come into the accelerator programs. Okay. Any other questions? Excellent. You've got a whole 5 minutes for a cup of coffee. Oh, lady at the back. Can we pass that along?
My question is, if do you offer consultancy only for companies based in UK?
Say again, sorry.
Is it only for companies based in UK?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, our partners in the current programs are based in Colombia, they're based in Malaysia, Argentina, but we've worked in those 17 countries on the map. No, they extend far past the UK.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening. I hope that was useful. Thank you.